time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And here we are once again. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock, and it is time for episode 327. That's right, 327 fun-packed episodes of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, how the hell are you, my friend?
I'm tired. I don't know about you, Ron. This body is not getting younger, and yet I continue to treat it like it is a 27-year-old's body. I had my trip to Scotland, London, came back, then trip to Philadelphia for Happy Halloween, a stay with Ron and Mrs. Ron. This weekend, working with the great Alan Robert of Life of Agony, of Spoiler NYC. This weekend, I was working with him at Chiller Theater, the premier New Jersey horror celebrity convention. I'm tired. This body is just wearing down, my friend.
You're only human, Brian. You gotta take it easy.
I will, and now I gotta go. I have work tomorrow.
All right. Well, let's get to work here, Brian, because that's what's most important.
We have
time for drink of the week. Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week. Cruncher.
Who's?
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
So, Brian, what are you drinking this week?
Last night I was drinking Jack and Coke, so today we're doing it. We're taking it down a notch. This is a beer I enjoyed as recently as August. I know, Ron, you are known for your one and done. You move on. You very rarely duplicate a beer. However, the very nice folks over at Pine Lakes, over at Seven Tribesmen Brewery in Wayne, New Jersey, were so kind. Back in August, I did a review of their Pine Lakes Pilsner. They sent me over a 4-pack just to sit there as a way of saying thanks. Take a look at this beautiful, look how clear this is. You can see my face. It's cool. It's crisp. It's a balanced German-style Pilsner. And I think it's a perfect way to enter the fall. We're going to start drinking the heavier beers. But for now, I'm still working on this Pilsner. 5.5 ABV, but it's going to feel like gold when it's going down my gullet.
And out of your broken goblet, Happy Halloween glass, nonetheless. How is it?
Absolutely. I love this. This is tasty. It's a little hoppier than most Pilsners that I've had of late, but this is just delicious.
All right. Good to hear. Glad you are enjoying it. You deserve it, my friend, after a long weekend of work.
Ron, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
What are you drinking?
So this week, something I drink when I go out. I don't usually have it at home, but I grabbed one. I had a Mix 6 at the local store. This is Kona Big Wave. They call it a Liquid Aloha. This is their golden ale. Mahalo for drinking responsibly, they say. It is only 4.4%, so we're keeping it on the down low alcohol wise. But look at that also, Brian. A little darker than yours, but it's a delicious beer. I usually have it on draft. We'll see how it is out of bottle.
Sure. Ooh, let's do this.
Still tasty, Brian. Still GD tasty. There's an aftertaste there that I'm not used to. I don't know what that is.
No,
I'm used to that. So I'm not quite sure what that is, but regardless, it's a tasty beer, and I'm ready to dig in for the rest of the show. In the meantime, Brian, we got a lot of stuff. Let's not dilly-dally around. Let's get to Beef of the Week. And let me get the right button here.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
What's bothering me this week is media coverage of the New York Liberty Championship Parade in Lower Manhattan that took place earlier this week, Thursday, late morning. And I hope that this doesn't go off the rails, as I know, Ron, you like to take conversations in bad directions. However, New York's franchise in the WNBA, the New York Liberty, won the playoffs. They won the playoffs. They won the championship, brought the title to New York. And listen, without divulging too much information, my office is in Lower Manhattan. So during the parade, I decided to take a little early lunch, went downstairs, walked around Lower Manhattan a bit, and got to the parade route. First off, there's no such thing as ticker tape parades anymore. You're not allowed to throw shit out your window. You're not allowed to throw stuff out your window. So literally, you look at those videos of, the great Yankee teams from like the late 70s, early 2000s, driving up Broadway with just rain, ticker tapes, parades, papers, whatnot. Nobody's throwing anything out windows anymore. Anyway. I would say that from where I was standing on the parade route, which was, I would say, pretty much at kind of like the halfway point, I would say the crowd was about maybe 2 deep, some cases 1 deep, maybe like 3 deep in other areas. But let's, I'm just, that's what I saw. I saw it with my own eyes. However, if you watch the news later on that day at 5 o'clock, but I don't watch it at 5. I would have watched the 6 o'clock news in New York. The camera footage of the parade made it look like the entire New York City stopped what they were doing, traveled to downtown Manhattan, and threw a party for those ladies who won the basketball championship. They made it seem as if, just the general cover, they made it seem like this was one of the largest parades ever given. This was bigger than, Apollo 11 returning from the moon. This was bigger than Shah of Iran in 1979 when he came over here. It was just wild. Yet, I saw with my own eyes, it was not a raucous party whatsoever. And it really just irked me that in our society where we're trying to promote the WNBA, and there really seems to be an agenda this year of we need to focus on the WA and support this. And I think it's great that people are, everybody has an interest. I just don't like being lied to. And I felt like the news was openly lying about the reception of this parade.
I mean, Brian, you do traditionally lift women up. It's why you're the senior Title IX correspondent for the Ron and Brian podcast. Do you feel maybe they were fluffing up the parade footage a bit to make people think, oh, I missed out on this. I have to go get myself some WNBA tickets for next season.
Probably, or perhaps, hey, I'm missing out on this. What I really need to do is I need to go buy some merchandise. Maybe a jersey of some type. I don't know, but it just felt like a lie.
I understand.
Ron?
Yes.
What's bothering you?
So many things bothering me this week, Brian. As you know, our beloved New York Yankees are in the World Series. First couple of games haven't gone our way. At first I felt some sort of way about that, but I think what really is my beef of the week this week, Brian, is this narrative that people have had, not just this year, but for a number of years, as supposedly how easy it is to be a New York Yankees fan. Like, oh, you're a Yankees fan, you must root for them because they always win. Listen, history has shown that's not always the case. Sure, we've got 26 world championships, but truth be told, 7 of them in our lifetime, Brian.
Did you say 26 rings? Did you say 26?
Did I say
we have 27, baby. We are on a quest for 28.
Sorry, 27. But only 7 of those have been in our lifetime. 2 of them I don't even remember. Like you and I are contemporaries age-wise. I don't remember the back-to-backs in 77 and 78.
I do.
I think when I really, I've blacked out a lot of my childhood. I do remember, however, the 81 World Series, Dodgers, Yankees, which we lost. And I learned at a very young age how much sports teams can hurt you. Brian, how did we do from 81 to, I don't know, let's say 1996?
One of the worst teams in sports. Not only did we not win
the playoffs, we were
terrible.
The playoffs. I think what killed me almost was 1995. What was it? That one game playoff at the end of the season against Seattle because we finished tied and lost. So, but I will say 96. If you were to ask me my favorite Yankees World Championship, 1996. Because it had been so many years, we weren't favored to win. Atlanta was supposed to be this dynasty in the making. Yeah. And then, of course, we had,
great
90, run. 99, 2000, 2009. But then, again, 2009, it's been 15 years again. Yeah. Listen, I will give Dom this. It's being a Mets fan can be tough, but we had to watch so many teams we hate win World Series in that interim from 81 to 96. We had to watch, oh my God, the Toronto Blue Jays. God, I hate the Toronto Blue Jays. We had to watch the Orioles. Who else won during that time, Brian?
Couldn't even tell you.
We had to watch the Mets. We had to watch the Mets win in 86.
Oh, that was painful.
Has there in your lifetime been a World Series that you wanted 2 teams to both lose more than 86 when it was Red Sox and Mets?
I was actually hoping that Fenway Park would just self-implode and all the players on the field would just be collapsed into this gigantic sinkhole. And unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Right. I think we're on the same page here. So that's just, I don't know why it's just bugging me this week. It's been very difficult. There was a lot of cursing in my house, all by me Friday night. And then there was some cursing last night because they had to make it seem like they might come back and then fall short. So I am hopeful these upcoming games at Yankee Stadium are a lot more fruitful.
What bothers me most is that the Mets have done better. The Mets in their series did better against the Dodgers than we have done against the Dodgers.
So far,
that will hurt even more. Is that if we lose like this, we are going to give Mets fans every opportunity for them to say that they were the better team this year, and we know that they weren't. Terrible.
And
garbage.
What I also find amazing is I've seen a couple of videos on TikToks where Mets fans, now that they've lost, are saying, "Well, we're going to support New York Yankees now." In my mind, you're not a real Mets fan if you say that.
Sure.
As a Yankees fan, I don't want the Mets to do well.
I wouldn't root for them.
As a New York Rangers fan, I don't want the Islanders to do well. Like it's just you can't. It's impossible to do that. And we have a wealth of riches in sports teams. No one likes the Giants or the Jets. We all wish they would go away. But
just looking terrible.
So will you be watching the game on a regular size TV?
Yes.
Tomorrow, Brian?
Yes. It's very frustrating watching the game. I had to stream it on the Fox News app on a phone this weekend as I was at Chiller, mentioned earlier at the top of the hour, as we say in the business. It'll be nice to, what is it? Game 3 is tomorrow, Monday?
Game 3 should be tomorrow night.
All right. I will be home watching it. And as you said, sitting there screaming and cursing at my TV. Yep. Hopefully there will be more celebrating than cursing. But even a pop fly with 2 outs and runners on will cause me to scream. Even when if we have a 2-run lead, I'm still screaming at it. I find playoff baseball very tense when the Yankees are in it. So we'll see how we do.
I mean, I had to explain to my wife because this is her first time in our relationship together where she is experiencing me during the Yankees being in the World Series.
Yeah.
We didn't meet till 2012. So, I mean, that's 3 years past that World Championship. And she likes sports. She does not understand the emotions that I sometimes display while watching the Yankees.
Sure.
So she was frightened. She was upstairs watching TV while I was I was even cursing when good things would happen, like in
Yeah,
game
that's the
one
thing.
when who hit the home run in game one?
Stanton. Stanton hit the 2-run homer.
And like I'm like, that's right. Get that ball out of the fucking park.
Yeah,
Get it
yeah.
out of
Oh,
the fucking park.
yeah.
And she's
That's
up
the
there like,
thing.
what's going on?
But it's not enjoyable. You're not
Right.
enjoying the game. It is stressful. It's exhausting.
Yep.
The roller coaster of emotions. It's not a fun thing to experience. We have to experience it as Yankee fans. Thank God we're in the World Series. I wish we had something better to offer than an 0-2 record at the
Right.
after the first two games in Los Angeles. But let's see what we can do in these now that the series has come back to New York.
Again, feeling confident. I understand Aaron Judge will be at Yankee Stadium. I don't believe he made the trip out to LA for these first two games. At least I couldn't find anything in the box score about him.
Well, the real question is, will he be bringing a bat when he goes up to the plate for his plate appearances? Will he bring a bat with him, or will he just stand there and pose? Really?
Right. He just needs to put that gawky 6'10" frame in the path of fire of a fastball so he can get on base that way.
That might be his only way. Listen, let's not complain. We're
Nope.
0-2. Let's see where we go.
Billy brings up a good point. We were 0-2 in the 1996 World Series, and then what happened in Game 3?
I assume we won.
Jimmy Leyritz, baby, with that home run.
Ooh, I do remember that. Remember that. All right, so let's get there.
While we're on sports, should we just knock out all the sports at the top of the
Do
show and give people
knock it out for
our locks of the week?
Locks.
And again, we don't want to belabor our performance too much, but Brian, you had to be sweating this out. You nailed the Arizona-Miami game in the early games, but you had Washington -1.5 against Chicago. Chicago scoring a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to go up by 3 with 28 seconds. You had to be sweating that out. But then, miracle of miracles in Washington, a 52-yard Hail Mary at the end of the game to win by 3 to keep you perfect on the season at 16-0. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you. Listen, it boils down to reading the tea leaves, looking at the lines, understanding the weather reports, and just listen. I am, I can take credit for going 2-0 again. And at the same time, it is an honor to not look back, not look forward, but look to my side and see you standing there as also going 2-0 with your locks of the week from last week. We didn't announce, our picks last week. I mean, the results last week. People complain. They're like, no, we want to hear what were your picks?
Right.
Show us just how great you are. Vikings were -3 over the Rams, and you sat there and said, listen, this LA Rams team is for real. We don't even need the points. Bet the money line. I remember you saying that. I was like, the nerve, the balls. Rams win 30-20. Also, listen, Jets were -6.5 over a very disappointing New England Patriots. You sat there and said, listen, Aaron Rodgers is washed up. The Jets are toxic. I don't care who's coaching them, whether it's that guy or this guy. Go with the Patriots. Patriots winning the whole game, 25-22. The Jets' woes continue. You are also 2-0. 14-0 at this point. 14-0, or is it? Yeah,
16-0. We're finishing up week 8 right here.
Doing the math wrong in my head. I apologize. It is just a pleasure to be sitting with such perfection right next to you.
Well, I feel the same way. Who do you like next week, Brian? More importantly, who do you like?
People, mortgage your house. Take all your wife's jewelry. Go to the pawn shop because we are. I'm kidding. Just exaggerating. My locks of the week, the people that I'm putting my max unit bet on: Chargers -3.5 over the Browns. Also, Atlanta Falcons looked great this week. They're -2 over the Cowboys. I like Atlanta. Ron, who do you got?
All right. I like the Saints. Saints, big blowout game today. I like the Saints -4.5 against the Carolina Panthers. And Washington, again, with that last minute win, -3 at the Giants. Just like those two road teams next weekend. As always, as we say, bet with your head, but not over it. In the meantime, Brian, it's time for our stories of the week. Those stories that we like to make sure we get to. We get so many stories on the list, and we don't always get to them. But these are the stories that we want to make sure we get to. Brian, what is your story of the week?
My story of the week takes us to the great state of Kentucky, where a politician, a state senator, a Republican state senator, Johnny L. Turner, 76 years old, will not be making it to 77. Johnny Turner died 1 month after he died this past week, after a months-long battle, after a freak accident occurred in his house when he fell into the swimming pool while riding his lawnmower. I'll let you visualize that again. He fell into a swimming pool while riding on a lawnmower. He passed away following a hard-fought battle with injuries he sustained on September 15th when he was driving his riding mower and accidentally went into the deep end of an empty swimming pool. So he was not bouncing up and down. This was an empty swimming pool. Ron, you recently had a pool installed. I am assuming once you drained the water out, you took several precautions to ensure that when you are mowing your lawn, or actually when your landscaper comes to mow your lawn, that they don't drive their motorized piece of equipment into the deep end of the pool.
I mean, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer not to do that, but I guess maybe I need some better safeguards out there.
All right. But I like to use my story of the week as just, a moment to properly warn people, to make sure that everyone's behaving safely and securely. Unfortunately, Johnny Turner drove his lawnmower into an empty swimming pool. Took him a month, but finally he died. And we are all sending our sympathies to his family. Be careful, people. Pool safety, something very important, near and dear to our hearts.
I mean, you did a whole Can You Beat Ron about pool safety. How much of a prognosis, what's you were clairvoyant almost, knowing that was information the American people needed.
It's almost as if had Johnny Turner been a Patreon subscriber and watched our pajama party where we played Can You Beat Ron, it's possible, he would have heard those 10 amazing questions about pool safety, and he'd still be with us today. Unfortunately, he was not a Patreon subscriber. Therefore, Johnny Walker Turner, I think Walker was his middle name, made that up. Unfortunately, not with us anymore. Gene Kramer wouldn't die in a pool, by the way.
I think we can say safely that our Patreon saves lives.
Sure.
My story of the week this week, Brian, it is about a Taylor Swift themed cruise that had a little bit of a mishap while aboard Royal Caribbean's Allure of the Seas ship in the Bahamas. A 66-year-old woman fell overboard. The ship was about 17 miles north of Nassau. This happened around 10 o'clock at night back on October 22nd. A day later, the Coast Guard and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force were still searching for the women. I don't believe they have found her body yet. Going to assume it's a recovery mission at this point, not a rescue mission. While not affiliated with the singer, the In My Cruise era ship, which was put on by 3 travel agents, it had worked with the cruise line to plan events such as friendship bracelet swaps, theme nights, Swift trivia, and dance parties. Apparently falling overboard was not on the agenda, with the exception of this one individual.
Just a shame.
That's
a real shame,
Brian. Between 2009 and 2019, 212 people went overboard while on a cruise. 170 of those incidents resulted in fatalities. I can't think of something more. Well, I mean, there are a few things, but falling overboard on a cruise ship has to just be a horrendous way to go.
I would say that the people who had to jump from a burning World Trade Center on 9/11, so that they did not die
That's
a
why I
fiery death.
corrected my remarks, Brian. As far as vacations go, however, I think falling off of a cruise ship.
Now, do people actually fall off cruise ships, or aren't they all pushed off by their spouse who recently took out a larger lump sum payment in the form of a life insurance policy? Isn't that really the only way to fall off? Have you ever been on a cruise?
I have not.
Me
I'm not
neither.
a cruise guy.
I flip flop, and I know I'm not one to flip flop. I know you support the fact that I'm very steadfast. But every now and then I sit there and think to myself, you know what, I would like to go on a cruise, just experience it, go out there on the water, and and then I see stories, I see videos of what cruise life is like, and I say to myself, I don't think that I would enjoy that.
Yeah. I mean, we had looked into doing a potential cruise. We looked at, I think, Virgin Experiences because they are adults only cruises. Because I think if I did a cruise, it would have to be adults only.
Have to be.
I don't
Have
think
to be.
I could be stuck on a cruise ship for a week.
Correct.
With children. Just
Correct.
I mean, apart from the restraining orders, I just don't think that I would have an enjoyable time. But to your point, like, what do you do on a cruise ship that, and you're kind of
eat and
trapped?
drink.
Yeah,
You eat and drink,
and you go to shows. Like, I would rather go. Like, we went to Vegas. We had our select. I mean, we did that too. We ate, we drank, we went to shows. But we had a wide selection. We could do what we wanted to do. Not a fan.
Well, it also seems to be like the cruises are just you're meant to just overindulge, whether it be food, alcohol, whatnot. When you talk to people that do go on cruises and seem to enjoy that, one of their first benefits, they always talk, yeah, so much food. You could just eat for days. There's so many great restaurants, and if you're hungry at 2:00 in the morning, you go downstairs and you can have a pound of bacon. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be that fun to me.
Right.
And it's also the swaying. I mean,
the swaying, the sickness. Billy mentions like a 3-hour cruise. Like, we have Spirit of Philadelphia.
Sure.
You go out, you have dinner, you have an open bar, you have a DJ. Yeah, that's perfect for me. I just need
3 hours is good. Yeah, 3 hours is good.
We were talking about our Yankees just a few minutes ago. Rudy Giuliani has to
Yankee
turn
fan.
over. He's a Yankees fan. He used to own a lot of prized Yankee memorabilia. Well, now he needs to turn that over, along with control of his Upper East Side condo, to 2 Georgia election workers he defamed by falsely claiming they tried to cheat former President Donald Trump out of the 2020 election. The former New York City mayor will be forced to hand over his 3-bedroom East 66th Street apartment, as well as a Mercedes-Benz model SL500 and other valuables and cash to Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Wandria Moss, per the ruling in their $148 million defamation case. He has 7 days to turn over his interest in his co-op, which he recently had dropped the price of by $1 million in a last-ditch bid to offload it. He has to turn that over into a receivership controlled by Freeman and Moss. It was priced at $5.175 million earlier this month. He also has to turn over a picture signed by Reggie Jackson, a replica of Joe DiMaggio's jersey signed by Joe DiMaggio, more than 20 luxury watches, a diamond, cash, and furniture.
Yeah, this is to me, this is something that belongs in our fuck around and find out section. Rudy Giuliani, I mean, he went full MAGA. After the last election. We all remember his famed press conference at the Four Seasons Landscaping in Philadelphia. And he literally spent months after the election 4 years ago just spreading lies claiming that he had evidence that never materialized, he never produced, that there was election fraud. And the amazing thing with about Rudy Giuliani is that as other political figures started to see that the cases were not going Donald's way, were not the courts were not supporting the claims and whatnot. He kept doubling down.
Yeah,
He kept,
stuck with it.
this case in Georgia, I believe that that we're talking about here. He literally just named two election officials, low level too. I mean, he's not
Right.
talking about like the Secretary of State or the head of the election board. No, these were two women who I believe whose job it was just to count votes. Named them in public and claiming that they were actively, violating campaign laws, that they were faking ballots, were throwing out votes for Trump, whatnot. And there was absolutely no evidence of this. And these women, more power to him. He was spreading lies about them. They took him to court and won. He sat there and tried to sit there and in a court of law argue that that he had all this evidence that it was that what he was saying was true, and none of it was presented in court. None of it was accurate, and he lost his court case. And then he simply refused to pay.
Right.
So now the court has to go in there and legally require him to give up his New York home. He sat there and was like, "Oh, I can't. You can't make me give up my New York home. My Florida home is just only a small condo. Like, that's not your fucking problem. You lost this case."
Apparently, the judge has reserved judgment for now on to whether to force Giuliani to turn over his multi-million-dollar condo in Palm Beach, Florida. Also, he could have to turn over his Yankees World Series rings that were gifted to him by the team many years ago.
Sure.
His attorneys, of course, are saying this whole thing will be overturned upon appeal.
Don't see that happening.
No, I don't either. Yeah. I mean, he's going to end up like the Mr. Pillow guy. He's going to be sleeping in his car, making TikToks on his pay-as-you-go phone. And listen, I can't think of a better person for this to have happened to.
Sure, absolutely. Fuck him.
I think years from now, hopefully it's in our lifetime they do the documentary about this, but years from now, I think people will study the downfall of a man who, after September 11th, 2001, hands down was one of the most beloved political figures in this country.
Sure. He was America's mayor.
And now, he's been stripped of his law license in New York City. He's lost $150 million judgment. And I believe there are still other cases pending against him.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
The fact that he's still alive at 80 with all this going on is shocking.
And he should be in jail by this point. Let's be honest.
Yes. Getting out of jail soon, apparently, may be Lyle and Eric Menendez after the L.A. County District Attorney recommended on Wednesday that they be resentenced for the 1989 shotgun slayings of their parents in their Beverly Hills mansion. District Attorney George Gascon announced at his news conference that his office would be recommending that the brothers, who are currently serving a life sentence without parole, be resentenced to 50 years to life. However, because they were under 26 years old at the time of the killings, they will be eligible for parole. Lyle was 21, Eric was 18 when they shot Jose and Kitty Menendez in the family's living room. The timeline for the potential release from prison is uncertain, but Garcon said that after nearly 35 years in prison, they have, quote, paid their debt to society. Here is a shot of the brothers as they appear today. Gascon's announcement came amid a groundswell of advocacy for the brothers. Brian, your thoughts on this?
Confused. And it's one of the things that I feel is it's a slippery slope that we're dealing with, which is that here are two kids kill their parents, claim that their justification for doing it was that they were being sexually molested by the father.
Right.
I don't remember what their logic was in also shooting to death their mother. If the mother, or like, was the mother also abusing them? I remember it just being the father. But
Apparently, I think the justification was that she had been aware of the abuse that was going on and did nothing to intervene. So they basically looked at her as guilty with her inactions, as they looked at their father as being guilty with his actions.
they had an opportunity. They were given a trial. They had defense lawyers present whatever their defense was. A jury found them guilty. They were sentenced to a crime, and now suddenly, we as a society, albeit somewhat softer, we now sit there and want to just kind of like pick and choose which court cases we want to suddenly look at through a different lens. Like, are we not also going back to, other court cases where, suddenly it's just, they were given, this guy was given a life sentence for shooting a drug dealer or whatever. But you want to know something? He's already done his sentence. Let's change his sentence because it makes me feel better. I don't understand why in today's society we are now revisiting court cases, and we're not asking the question of guilt or innocence. It's just like, haven't these guys really done enough? Like, I just don't agree with it.
Well, and obviously, light was shined on this case again most recently because of the Netflix series about the Menendez brothers. What appears to have helped their case, is the majority of their supporters are their close relatives, are their family members, who believe that if they were tried today, because we have a better understanding of child sexual abuse and trauma, they probably would have received, a lighter sentence. I think they've got about 20 members of their extended family supporting them. In addition to that, in May of 2023, there was a Peacock docuseries about Jose Menendez and Menudo, where former boy band member Roy Rosello said that Jose Menendez had drugged and raped him when he was a teenager. So I think, I agree with you. I think there are probably, thousands of cases like this that probably, deserve to be revisited. Or, I mean, hell, why not revisit all the people that are doing life sentences for minor drug infractions involving marijuana or, victimless crimes? Like, I agree with you. I think let's revisit victimless crimes prior to letting out people that killed
actually did it.
People.
Yeah. And to me, I think that the rest that these family members that are supporting them now, I think they're just afraid of getting shot by the Menendez brothers also. I mean, it seems like they were like, listen, we're going to kill our father. We're going to kill our mother. Like, what makes these family members think they're going to be somewhat sympathetic and not also shoot their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their second cousins, their landscaper who's driving dangerously near the pool? I mean, to me, they're going to take out their entire family tree.
Right.
And I think it's very reckless of these family members to support them.
And consider this, I mean, the brothers, they went in with 12 gauge shotguns. They shot their father 6 times. They shot their mother 10 times. According to notes on the case, Jose Menendez suffered a, quote, explosive decapitation with evisceration of the brain, which basically means his brain was splattered all over the bookcase. And then the brothers' therapist testified that apparently their mom was moaning and trying to crawl away when they reloaded their guns and shot her in the face.
And then somehow William Esquire in the chat over here is pointing out that Lyle took it upon himself to paint some murals in the prison. Is that justification for letting him out of a life prison sentence? Lyle went out, he got a bachelor's degree in sociology. Oh, okay. So we're just going to look past the shooting death of his father. I don't get it. I don't understand why suddenly we as a society have gotten so soft that we're just sitting there being like, well, they did, shoot their parents to death, which they're not denying.
Right.
They're not denying it. They shot their parents to death.
What is also interesting, and what a number of people have mentioned, is this particular district attorney is up for re-election and currently trailing his opponent by about 30 points in the polls. So even though he claims this was not politically motivated, you have to wonder about the timing, happening just a couple of weeks prior to
Right.
election day.
I don't understand it. It's very depressing.
Well, we will, as
Let them
always,
rot in jail. Let them rot. Sorry.
we will keep tracking how this goes. Again, it is up to a judge to resentence them. Even though the district attorney is recommending it, it is not a done deal. A judge needs to resentence the brothers, and then the brothers need to go through the parole process, each of them individually. So there is a very potential scenario where one brother gets parole and the other doesn't. So it's we'll see how this plays out. But I've got a bigger question for you, Brian. What are you watching?
Okay. On Apple TV, I watched the first 2 episodes of Before with Billy Crystal. It very much seems to be he is a doctor, and this little kid comes into his life who's speaking for him. It literally is feeling like, first off, Billy Crystal wearing the world's worst toupee known to mankind. I didn't think of him as a bald guy. I did think to myself, he's always wearing a baseball cap.
Right.
You haven't seen Billy Crystal in the wild recently. Showing
You're
the top of
mentioning
his
that
head.
just the other week. Like, what the hell ever happened to Billy Crystal?
Well, he put a toupee on, and he's now on an apple. It literally feels like Sixth Sense, because the movie starring Bruce Willis, who is also
Familiar with it?
wondering whatever happened to Billy Crystal. But that's because of his dementia, not because he's actually wondering about Billy Crystal.
Well, he couldn't actually say it either, unfortunately.
Ugh.
Sorry, that was wrong. I apologize. Please continue.
That was good. Yeah, you made me laugh just now. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So it seems like Billy Crystal plays a doctor whose wife recently committed suicide. Sorry, that's a spoiler alert in the first episode. Probably should have given a little warning before that. But, he's dealing with the loss, a recent loss of his wife. This little kid comes into his life, non-communicative, but yet out of nowhere starts speaking this foreign language. Rosie Perez is in there as like the child's foster mother. I'm not recommending it, people. Please do not confuse this as a recommendation. After the first 2 episodes, if I can't properly describe what the plot of a show is, it means it's not that great
Right.
and incredibly convoluted. So that's what I've been watching.
Okay.
Obviously, you've been watching playoff baseball, but what else have you been watching?
Playoffs. So continuing to watch Teacup on Peacock. New horror show. Getting very good. I would highly recommend that. Continuing to watch From on MGM Plus, although I get it through another streaming service, which we don't have to mention because it may or may not be legal. But I will tell you again, if you are not watching From, if you were a fan of Lost but want a more coherent show than Lost, I would recommend this.
Really?
Most recently, I have started to watch This Is the Zodiac Speaking. It is a 3-episode docuseries on Netflix. It looks into an individual who apparently was investigated but never arrested.
Arthur Lee Allen?
Arthur Lee Allen, yes.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know this. He was he is the character that is pointed at in the movie Zodiac with Jake Gyllenhaal. He made the writer of that book that they turned into the movie. He believed that it was Arthur Lee Allen that was the Zodiac killer.
And the writer of the book is in this documentary. But in addition, the children of a woman who was involved in a relationship with Alan for a number of years also tell some stories that place him in areas where Zodiac killings were occurring.
Sure.
And again, documentaries always, the documentary wants to tell a certain story, so you kind of have to take it
Right.
with a grain of salt. But if you look at all of the evidence being told by eyewitnesses, being told by these children, being told by the police, being told by the author, you know, I mean, there was just certain times where, I'm watching it with my wife and she was just like, come on, he's the Zodiac killer. Like they really do make it seem
Sure.
like this is probably the guy. So I
Oh,
I
definitely
would
gonna
recommend
watch this.
checking that out as well.
Definitely going to watch this. Fascinated. I had as a childhood, I watched some kind of documentary about the Zodiac killer. It must have been like maybe 5, 6 or whatnot. And I was afraid of the city of San Francisco for most of my childhood because I thought that the Zodiac killer was still walking around. Now I'm afraid of San Francisco for the homeless problem that they have
Yeah.
there. So just shifting. But I
You
will
had told
definitely
me in
check that out.
college that your experience with San Francisco glory holes had really made you change your impression of that as a city. Has that now swung around again to where you're nervous about heading out there?
It was a very fulfilling trip.
Heyo, was there that a pun intended?
That was my friend.
All right.
All right.
Speaking of people behaving badly, we go times where we don't hit this bit, but we have gone to this a few weeks in a row now. But the drag queens are the problem. We have made a pledge to continually try and support the right and try to find drag queens that are the problem.
Sure.
We have stories, Brian. We're going to see if any of these are drag queens. Let's take a look here. This first one is in Michigan. Has to be a drag queen in Michigan. They're very liberal in some of those cities there. And this
Sure.
this is actually a MAGA supporting youth pastor, Zachary Joseph Radcliffe, age 29, has been arrested and arraigned and charged with 11 felonies. First-degree criminal sexual conduct, 2 charges of aggravated child sexually abusive activity, 2 charges of child sexual abusive activity, and 6 charges using the internet to communicate with another to commit a crime. He faces up to life in prison. He was a church leader at Oakwood Church and was started to be investigated earlier this month. As the investigation revealed multiple underage victims. They then got warrants to seize documents, computers, all the usual things, and found sexually abusive material, including material with a prepubescent child, and a video or more than 100 images. The charges date back as far as June 2014. According to court records.
That's not okay.
Really? Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad we
that's
can
not
agree
okay.
on something here today. Let's see what else we have here. We got another story here. I don't think this one involves a youth pastor, so I think this should probably involve a drag queen. And nope, this is actually a teacher out of the great state of Texas. She was arrested on Monday after she allegedly had an inappropriate relationship with a former student of hers over the summer. This is Carroll Middle School educator Angela Barnes. She allegedly carried out the affair with the teen boy off campus between June and July of this year. She was charged with sexual assault of a child, an improper relationship between educator and student, and booked in a regional jail. She was quickly placed on leave by the school district. And at this time, police do not think there are any more alleged victims other than the teenage boy. So not a drag queen, Brian, not a drag queen.
We're disappointed again.
Sure. Now, this one, it's New York City, Brian. You had to leave New York City because it is the bastion of liberal, thoughts, actions.
Sure.
So I have to imagine it's a ritzy New York City private school. I have to think this involves a drag queen. And oh no, this is a former baseball coach He worked at Packer Collegiate Institute. This is Nicholas Morton. He was accused of sexually abusing 7 boys, forcing players as young as 12 years old to expose themselves and threatening to cut them from the school baseball team if he didn't. He has
Really?
20 charges against him. The kids aged 12 to 14 banded together to expose his behavior to police. So he has been arrested, charged. Again, on leave. Did they fire him? Probably not. Let me.
I sure hope so. He
So
looks like
is,
somebody that should be fired.
so, and judge set bail. How much? So, all right, Brian. 20 charges, numerous victims between the ages of 12 to 14. What do you think is a reasonable amount of bail for the judge to have set for this individual?
$250,000.
Oh, that would have been a jump up, $75,000, which of
Really?
course his parents provided. So he is out walking the streets again.
A little disappointing.
Yes, we need a wood chipper. I agree with that. Wood chipper, wood chipper.
Wood chipper,
Like
absolutely.
you say wood chipper 3 times
100%.
years.
Maybe.
We've got one more. This is Kentucky. I have to think, if anything, it's a drag queen going off the rails in Kentucky. And no, this is a Kentucky high school principal who has been charged and placed on leave after he was busted on video giving 2 teen girls a beer bong at a booze-fueled party. Anthony Procasino was caught on camera giving alcohol to the girls, aged 16 and 17, at his home last New Year's Eve. He had been the head of a local elementary school at the time, was filmed holding the beer bong high in the air as both girls drank from the funnel. Apparently he did not, at least he didn't sexually abuse them, just provided them with alcohol. Well, as far as we know,
that we know of.
Sexually abuse them. Yeah.
Right.
So he has been charged with 2 counts of aiding or assisting any person 21 years or less being served alcoholic beverages, and he has been placed on the infamous administrative leave with pay as this case winds through the court systems.
All right. Let's hope
But Brian,
he spends an eternity in jail.
The drag queens are the problem, as we all know.
They are the problem. Yes.
Let's see here. Let's see if we can cram a few more stories in here. This one was fairly tragic. It was about a teenage Walmart worker was found dead in a store. And it seems to have involved a large bakery oven. Brian, you've been following this story exclusively. You are a big fan of Walmart. Tell us what exactly happened here.
Listen, if you are an employee of Walmart, I want people to understand it is possible that you are going to die a horrific death while at work. This is not something that workers' compensation insurance will cover because it took place in Canada. A teenage Walmart employee was found dead at a Canadian Walmart in Halifax, Nova Scotia. She was found at 9:30 in what was called a sudden death investigation. Upon some of that investigation actually being done by the Canadians, it would seem that she was found dead in a large baking oven that was still on. Sources have not said exactly how she died. Police will not elaborate or confirm, but it is apparent that she did not return home. Her parents went to work. The teen, who was a member of the local Sikh community, had only been in Canada for a few years. She was later identified as Gursimran Kaur, Kaur, and it was revealed, unfortunately, that she was discovered by her own mother, who found her daughter's charred remains inside the Halifax Walmart's large walk-in bakery oven, according to a GoFundMe set up by her family. Just a truly tragic story.
Yes. Her GoFundMe has raised 195,000 Canadian for her family and funeral. But that has to be so. I said falling off a cruise ship, probably the worst vacation related way
Right.
to go. I have to think getting trapped inside of a large bakery oven while at work, probably one of the most worst ways to go at work.
Sure. You know, it's also a terrible way to go.
Wood chipper, hands down. What's
Terrible
interesting is, and before I even heard about this story, like I was on TikTok and you go down these rabbit holes and TikToks, and I started seeing all these professional bakers showing like the huge industrial baking ovens in their shop and showing all of the safety measures that are in place. And at first I'm like, what the hell happened? And then I saw the story you had put there. But it seems like, again, they're going to claim this is an accident, but it seems like in every video I watch, there had to be at least 3 to 4 safety measures in place.
Really?
If you were trapped inside one of these ovens, to either shut the oven down, emergency opening to the door, or be able to communicate to somebody outside of the oven. So
Right.
I have to feel, and again, it's Walmart. What are they going to get? $1 million fine, a $20 million fine? They'll write that off at the end of the year.
Right. They don't care. They genuinely don't care.
What else do we have? Oh, we do have a follow-up to the Baltimore Ravens fan story we covered last week. John Callis, I believe, was his name. There was a video of him walking around after Baltimore had beat the Commanders 30-23. For whatever reason, he was walking the streets of Baltimore just looking for Washington fans to beat up. He found some of them, and he beat one person. He kicked another person who slammed their head into a wall. Well, now he is saying it's the old cocaine and what else?
Alcohol.
Cocaine and alcohol addiction made him do it. Which again, I mean, I haven't done a lot of cocaine. I've done a lot of alcohol. I don't typically hunt people down and try.
No, not at all.
Streets. The judge denied him bail, so he'll be sitting in jail right now because he's got prior arrests. We talked about it. He was sentenced to probation, and of course, the 2 people that he assaulted are also worried about him getting released.
Sure. I mean, I doubt he's going to go after them,
Right.
but it's just a piece of shit person. In his behavior that day.
Right. Also a piece of shit, this guy's attorney. What's the attorney's name? Well, the attorney said, quote, "I don't believe this is a first-degree assault. I think it's a second-degree assault. First-degree assault requires serious bodily injury. It's just disappointing. I think he needs help." So I don't know. I understand, you got to defend your client, but it's not first degree. It's second degree abuse. It's second degree assault at best.
Well, I mean, it's, the question is just, was this premeditated or not? I think first degree is premeditated, isn't it?
Yeah, I would. Well, again, according to this attorney, it's serious bodily injury, but who's to determine what's serious and not serious? But I'm just glad that
that's a judge. That is a judge's.
Right.
That's the prosecutor. Excuse me.
So this guy will be in jail until his court case comes up, and that's probably where he should be.
Hopefully for a long time.
Let's see, what other stories do we have? Do we want to run through celebrity obituaries real quick?
We have several, and a couple monumental ones.
Yes. I mean, I will say former Iron Maiden singer Paul Di'Anno passing away at the age of 66. Yes, I'm a fan of Iron Maiden. Don't know about you.
Sure.
Run to the Hills.
I have seen them in concert several times. An enjoyable band.
Baywatch actor Michael Newman, dead at age 68 after an 18-year battle with Parkinson's disease. This was a sad one we saw earlier today. Ric Flair's stepson, Sebastian Kidder, dying by suicide at the age of 24. And then right before we came on, we saw that David Harris, who played Cochise in the classic 70s movie, The Warriors, dead at the age of 75. But the one I think that hit us sports fans the hardest, Fernando Valenzuela, passing away at the age of 63. I think you and I both remember Fernando Mania. I mean, he was a guy who had one of the most effective screwballs in baseball history.
Yes. People have called you screwball multiple times over the years. It was, I've watched a couple of videos, looking back, more of a, just a reminder to the kids today of just exactly how impressive Fernando Valenzuela was as a pitcher when he came into the sport. In addition to that, not only was he just, pitching complete game shutouts left and right, in the first couple of years of his season, but it was also just the impact that he had on the Mexican community living in Los Angeles, causing them to really embrace the Los Angeles Dodgers for the very first time. Los Angeles, the Dodgers had been out in Los Angeles probably 30 years at that point, and had not really embraced the extensive Hispanic community that existed in Los Angeles, which seems foolish from a marketing perspective. But suddenly there was this rookie pitcher from a small town in Mexico, representing the city of Los Angeles and the community. He just came out in droves. Not only that, and one thing I remember was whenever the Dodgers would go on the road, if he was pitching an away game, that was a sellout. People would go just to watch him pitch, even if he was pitching for somebody else. It's almost like he was the Shohei Ohtani of 40 years ago.
Yeah, and we were talking about the 81 World Series earlier in the show. I mean, that was his rookie season. He won the Rookie of the Year. He won Cy Young, and he was instrumental in turning around a series where the Yankees won the first two games. They needed a Game 3 victory. They turned to Fernando. This is impressive. Also, he won his first 8 starts in 1981. 5 of them were shutouts. 7 out of those 8 were complete games, and his ERA in those 8 games was 0.5.
Really? Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Ridiculous stretch. Very touching to see the number 34 on the pitcher's mound, and they did a very nice tribute to him when the Oral Hershiser, instead of throwing out the first pitch, placed the baseball down on the 34 in honor of Fernando. So
that was nice.
We're getting to that age where people we watch as kids are starting to pass away. Makes you appreciate your own mortality.
Fuck. What is wrong with you? Why would you even talk about your own mortality? This is the Ron and Brian podcast. Like, we are going to live forever, Ron.
I don't know. I mean, how do you think you're going to go?
Oh, I'm banking on suicide.
Oh, wood chipper. Wow.
Joe thinks we're going in a wood chipper. Yes. But more importantly, Lyle Menendez earned a sociology degree while he went. Cares? That's not reason for him to get off killing his parents.
I mean, you would hope no one out there is hoping for us to pass away anytime soon. And I don't know. Janelle's got her fingers crossed. That hurts.
That hurts a lot. Hurts a lot.
Let's see. Do we want to talk about the sexually? Here we go. Brian, you will fall and break things. That's 100% how you're going to go. Like, you're going to fall, you're going to shatter something, which will probably lead to some sort of.
And I'll never fully recover. I will never fully recover. It's just like, what'll happen? Like, I'll fall in the shower, I'll break my hip, I'll get pneumonia in the hospital, and then they'll release me because the hip now, I don't need, maybe I'll go to like a rehab center. And while there, I'll pass away from the pneumonia.
Right. You'll be like, if you remember Unbreakable, right after Samuel L. Jackson's character fell down the flight of steps and was in the wheelchair. Exactly. In the wheelchair with the pins and the wires and the cast and everything else.
It's not
I'll
funny.
be there for you, buddy. I will push you down to the beach, let you take in the air.
So then I could just and then you'll just turn around and wheel me back at the end after. And I'll have like a blanket covering my legs just to protect me from the chill.
I'll help you download some audiobooks on your phone so you can pass the time.
I'll have dementia by that point. I won't even know what's going on. It's all good. It's all good. I imagine some strange woman from a foreign country will be washing me while I'm in the shower. Like I won't even be able to, it'll be like one of those standing showers. But I'll still figure out a way to fall. Yeah, it's the way.
I will look in on your lady, make sure she is taken care of while you.
She will have left me long before that point. We all know that. Is that as I start to fall apart, my lady will absolutely leave me. She'll be like, Brian, who? No, I don't know anyone. She'll be living the lap of luxury. I imagine she will have moved to California by that point, someplace warm, where she will be. I imagine she will be, getting like her third wind in life. She'll probably be hanging out with the pool boy a little too much by that point. And here I will be on the Northeast with dementia racked with a broken hip. I figure that's our future. She'll leave me by that point.
Let's get to one final story, and it's probably one of the odder stories we had this week, where a man says that he feels lucky to be alive after a sexually frustrated dolphin attacked him while swimming. Takuma Goto claims he was in the water with a friend earlier this summer. They were off the coast of Suruga in central Japan when they were attacked by a lone dolphin. Footage shows the dolphin stalking Goto before bumping into him. The man tries to swim away while bystanders can be heard shouting. Another swimmer nearby propels a paddleboard towards Goto in a bid to help him. Experts believe it's the same, quote, sexually frustrated mammal that's behind some 15 other attacks on swimmers in Fuku this summer, up from 5 incidents last summer and 1 in 2022. This is, I think what's the weirdest thing is this is apparently, I don't know if this is a flyer or an online ad that is circling around. Telling people to beware of the sexually frustrated dolphin.
Can't they just get a female dolphin to go in there and make it less frustrated?
I'm not sure. So apparently his fingers were cut open. The injury resulted in 5 stitches, as well as a bite to his left wrist and forearm and his right hand and upper arm. A lot of biologists believe that the culprit would be a single male bottlenose dolphin. And that is a fun fact, Joe. Dolphins can be trained to ejaculate on command. I would love to know how we know this.
We're going to talk about that in our pajama party, which hopefully Joe will attend. Joe sometimes bails on our pajama party. Joe, stay awake for another 22 minutes. We will be doing our pajama
tomorrow
party.
Afternoon after work.
Yes. People, if you are not a member of our Patreon,
okay, hold on. Now she's saying she has pictures. So now 100% you need to be on the pajama party so we can see this.
Yeah. If you don't want to play Can You Be Brian, that's fine.
Yeah,
but at least stay around just for us to talk about what pictures you have. Maybe you can even share them with the group. Ooh,
so if you're unfamiliar with us talking about the pajama party or Can You Beat Brian, as we talked about in the beginning of the episode, our Patreon is a lifesaver. And what we do once a month, the last Sunday of every month, is we have a pajama party. Rather than a half hour, we do a full hour. We have all of our Patreon subscribers on. We talk about the sexy stories like ejaculating bottleneck dolphins. But we also have a trivia contest, this month it is time for Brian to defend his honor. I believe you're on a 2-game winning streak, if I'm not.
I believe I've won the
mistaken.
last 2 games. Yes.
So I feel I've come up with another great yet tricky theme, which Brian is not aware of. So if you are not yet a Patreon subscriber, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner and subscribe. If you join at the bronze level or $10 a month or higher, you get access to the Live After Dark, which will be starting in a mere 20 minutes. So if you do this right now, we can get to the link in time for you to participate. You can hear about our sexy stories. You can hear about Can You Beat Brian? And apparently you may even be able to see pictures of bottleneck dolphins ejaculating on command.
Sure. That's why it's behind the paywall, people.
Yep. Brian, anything additional before we wrap this up? Because now I'm usually excited to get to After Dark. Now I am even more so.
I can't wait.
All right. We're going to wrap this up, folks. Thank you for joining us. Patreon subscribers, we will see you in 20 minutes. Everybody else, we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again